Want to bring in Pete Najarian, co-founder of Market Rebellion, with some more insight in terms of how the financial markets are reacting to the potential for some deals in the next couple of hours here. For now, though, Pete, Trump just announced a deal with South Korea and oil deal with Pakistan as well. But there's still dozens of countries who have yet to strike this deal. How confident are you that, come this time tomorrow, we get a few more in?
I'm confident there'll be a few more. I don't know if I'd go too far on that, but I think that certainly people are feeling the pressure. Our countries are feeling the pressure, and I think that's going to be a huge catalyst to at least say, they talked about the phone calls. I think they're going to get plenty of phone calls. So I think it's a matter of how many can they stack up. And I love some of the deals that they've already struck with Japan and South Korea, where it's not only do they have the tariff at 15%, but they also have the investment money as well, $550 billion here, $350 billion there. These are real numbers. And the numbers that we've already collected are real numbers as well, record-setting numbers. So I'm very confident that people are going to want to come to the president and try to strike something. It might still get kicked down a little bit further in time, but I know he wants to say it's going to be August 1st and that's it, but I think that he's probably willing to give a little bit of a stretch there.
A little bit of a stretch, but we still need to get to that finish line. Here's what the president said yesterday about sending a bill to countries that have not yet made a deal. Take a listen.
We're now negotiating with various other countries, and the rest we're just sending out the bill to. We send a bill, we send a letter saying that you'll pay a certain tariff. So we look at the deficit, or we look at the surplus, and we look at the country and how the country's treated us, and lots of other things go into the equation. And we make a decision as to what that tariff will be.
Yeah, and we've covered this, right? The potential of some of these countries to get hit with anywhere from 15 to 50% tariff, Brazil being one of them, expected to see that 50% tariff. What are the economic impacts for these countries come, again, tomorrow by the deadline?
Well, it certainly is a monstrous impact, and I think the president, of course, is really squeezing Brazil because of the political reasons. But there's a lot going on and a lot to the negotiation picture that we're going to be watching for the next probably few weeks, I would say. I think that we all see what the president's holding there, and that's exactly where he wants to put that pressure on. I think there's going to be a willingness to do that negotiations that I mentioned. So maybe the numbers aren't going to be quite as bad as what they looked like that when he was first holding these numbers up.
Is there any concern from you or even from Wall Street, the fact that we haven't made a deal with our biggest partners? You think Mexico, you think Canada, certainly China. We have instead had this 90-day delay, especially when it comes to Mexico. That was recently announced after the president spoke with the president there, Sheinbaum. But other countries, you look at India, they're facing additional tariffs for what Trump calls this unfair trade policy, and India specifically for buying, Russian military equipment. He also noted, and Libby was talking about this a moment ago, that the talks with Canada, those haven't gone anywhere, especially with some news around Gaza and accepting that as a Palestinian state. India has said, though, that it is willing to work with Trump. It wants to work with the president. But in the past, we've seen Canada and Mexico get a bit more adversarial. They've done retaliatory tariffs. What do you expect in terms of response from Canada and Mexico this time around, since the deal hasn't been reached and we're still, coming across a deadline?
My expectation was to be much more towards the negotiation side of it. I don't think they want to get too aggressive with us as a country, the United States. I think that would be a bad decision on their part to get too aggressive because of the fact that, we do rely on Canada for many things as well as Mexico, specifically Mexico. But I think that the president has set this standard and he's going to stick with it. And I think it's something that's going to be negotiable, but it's not something that he's going to get run over either. So I think something can get done, and I think it will get done. I don't know the time frame of that, but I think that, for now, at least we've got those rates where we've got them in terms of the tariffs themselves. And it's just a matter of, well, how long can we stretch that out, or how long can they stretch that out before we actually can strike a deal? I do think we're going to strike deals with all of the big three, quite frankly, Mexico, Canada, and China. It's not going to happen tonight, but I think it's going to happen sometime in the next few weeks.
We kind of have to, right? I mean, those are our largest trading partners, and we rely on them as well as they rely on us. Let me pivot to this really quickly. Inflation, that has ticked up based on the latest numbers, the PCE drop that came out today, about 0.3% from last month. That's a bit higher than what many analysts have predicted. One of the things that I think is something we have to point out here when it comes to tariffs is they have been on and off again. If the president truly sticks to this deadline, we'll eventually start to see potential inflationary pressures when it comes to tariffs. Is it concerning to you at all, and potentially for consumers, with that deadline coming tomorrow, that inflation's already ticked up and then tariffs are actually going to go into place?
Yeah, I don't know about the tariffs going into place. I don't really see that. I think they'll negotiate that out. But that being said, yeah, this is something that's got to be concerning. Obviously, we wanted to get the inflation rate down. That's something that Chair Powell of the Fed has been talking about for a long time. We're still sitting up there at what, 2.6, 2.7, somewhere very close to that. So I think it's something that we're going to have to get that inflation down. But I also would say this. Not everything that comes out of Canada, it still can be moved over to the United States. There are certain exemptions that are out there as well, and I think people have to understand that. So when we talk about groceries going higher and all these other things that everybody's very panicked about, I don't think it's going to be nearly as bad as people expect because of the fact that there is some wiggle room within there.
Yeah, I think you and the rest of Wall Street believe the president is going to cave on that deadline, but the president has come out and said he's going to hold firm to it. We'll have to wait and see. Peter Najarian, always great insight. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.